Good evening, welcome to the news on Flip. I am Christian Chukwu. Let's take a look at the headlines. To recap, breaking news, newly appointed Labour Party DG Osutokun asked to resign for a recap. And also drama in Senate over Buhari's 23.7 trillion naira loan request. As Senate passes 819.5 billion naira supplementary budget as loan soars. And also El-Rufai warns against use of religion, ethnicity for the 23 campaigns. Aisha Yesufu, my husband now calls me Labour Party. Let's take a look at the news in detail. Another round of controversy appears to have been thrown up in the Labour Party after replacement of the Director General of its Presidential Campaign Council, Doyin Okpe, with Akin Osuntokun, who is a former aide to ex-president Olusegun Obasanjo. Labour Party National Chairman Julius Aburik announced the replacement after an emergency meeting in Abuja, the nation's capital, on Tuesday. Some members of the party, led by suspended National Publicity Secretary Abayomi Arabambi, have kicked against the appointment on the grounds that Akin Osuntokun is not a member of the party and is in fact a senatorial candidate of the Zenith Labour Party for Ekiti Central in the 23 election. Arabambi called on Osuntokun to resign his appointment or face a legal challenge. Arabambi and his group had earlier expelled the former Director General Doyin Okukpe from the party before his travails in court. Okukpe resigned his position after he was convicted of money laundering by the Federal High Court, Abuja, earlier this month. Drama in the Senate. The Senate is currently in a rowdy session over the request by the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, to approve Ways and Means advances restructuring to the tune of 23.7 trillion at the plenary on Wednesday. Senate President Ahmad Lawan and Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila read out Buhari's request to members of the respective chambers in the request titled Restructuring of Ways and Means Advances. The President wrote, "The Ways and Means advanced by the Central Bank of Nigeria to the federal government has been a funding option to the federal government to cater for short-term or emergency finance to fund delayed government expected cash receipt of fiscal deficit. The Ways and Means balance as of 19 December 2022 is over 23 trillion naira. I have approved the securitization of the Ways and Means balances along the following terms: amount 23.7 trillion, tenure 40 years, moratorium on principal repayment 3 years, pricing interest rate 9%. However, drama ensued at the plenary when the chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Solomon Adiola, was reporting the committee's findings on the Ways and Means when the lawmaker representing Rivers West, Senator Betty Apiafi, stood up to counter the new borrowings, and the Senate president shouted her down. Events took another dimension as senators began to shout, standing up and shouting with aggression. On the passing of the 18.9 billion naira supplementary budget, the Senate on Wednesday approved the request of the President, Muhammadu Buhari's request for an 819.54 billion supplementary budget meant to fix the infrastructure destroyed by floods across the country. Buhari had, through an executive communication last week, sought the approval of the National Assembly for an 819.54 billion supplementary budget. The request, according to the President, will form part of the 2022 Appropriation Act. Buhari, in the letter read by President of the Senate Ahmad Lawan, said the supplementary appropriation request was meant for the capital expenditure component of the 2022 budget. The approval of the Senate had increased the 2022 budget deficit to 8.17 trillion naira and a deficit to GDP ratio of 4.43%. The new borrowing also increased the federal government's domestic borrowing in 2022 to 3.33 trillion naira. To enhance the implementation of the project listed in the supplementary bill, the Senate extended the lifespan period of 18.12 trillion naira 2022 budget to March 31st, 2023. Now on El-Rufai, ahead of the 23 general elections, Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State has expressed concerns over the use of religion and tribal divisions as tools to campaign for some politicians. El-Rufai described the trend as very dangerous to the growth of democracy, adding that it is a threat to the unity of the country if allowed to continue. Speaking at the commissioning of the headquarters of Sultan Foundation for Peace and Development in Kaduna, Governor El-Rufai insisted that rather than use religion and ethnicity as tools for campaign, political parties and their candidates should focus on issues that are germane to national development and social stability. He, however, appealed to religious leaders and traditional rulers to ensure that their institutions are not used by politicians to promote their interests at the detriment of national unity and cohesion, noting that what the citizens need are candidates with capacity to deliver dividends of good governance to them. On his part, the Sultan of Sokoto said the foundation is aimed at fostering unity between Christians and Muslims, as well as to promote education in the country, especially within the northern region. On Aisha Yesufu, activist Aisha Yesufu has revealed that her husband now calls her Labour Party instead of pet names by which he used to call her. Yesufu has announced her support for the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and campaigns for him both online and offline. In a tweet on Wednesday, she said, "My husband is now calling me Labour Party instead of the baby or Osote, which means beautiful, that he usually calls me. I can't wait for the election to be over to go back to being the pampered baby girl that I am." With that, we've come to the end of the news on Flip. I'm Christian Jiku. Thanks for watching. God bless you. Bye for now.